whereby I think a lot of discussion has happened around freight rates and its impact on prices. Extremely elevated logistics costs have been one of the contributors to inflation during the pandemic season, which started basically sometime around 2020 and late into 2022. Since early 2023, ocean freight rates have started coming down. This is mainly from China into the Pacific through Singapore, including Fiji, with freight rates some of them hitting pre-pandemic levels. The highest rates that we saw during the pandemic was around mid-2021 into 2022, where a 40-foot container was costing about $9,000, which is roughly about 18,000 Fijian dollars. That has reduced in half. Right now, it's costing about 4,500 USD. A big driver of falling logistic cost is where congestion has eased significantly out of Asia into the Pacific via Singapore and Auckland, where congestions levels have returned to normal, and this is as of late November. However, we note that product prices through different other factors have also started reducing. We are currently forecasting and looking at different market levels. So far, the FCCC has managed to consider those price control items. There's about 230 odd items where we have noted price decreases all the way from 2 to 3% and going up to 20 to 30%. I think the largest was a tin mackerel that had a major price decline. So we have a list of, and all of this again is publicly available. There's a list of 230 or so items, but just to put into context, not all items are price regulated, and freight is one single component of product prices, which means whenever we get any imported item into the country, it's your purchase price, your freight rates, your local clearance charges, your duties, your into stock cost, your overhead cost, opening the container, getting laborers to stack the container, warehousing cost, electricity, all these other costs that are relevant to businesses. Now, when these other costs change, they will have a negative or positive impact depending on where they're moving. So say if freight rates were reducing, but at the same time the supplier cost went up, the effect is almost nil. There have been items where we've noted that supplier cost has remained constant, where prices have reduced. These are the list of 230 items that I have with me here. Apart from that, I've got price comparisons for a few items just to give some details. Say if you took a product, say for example a margarine, I'm not going to name the brand because I'm going to discuss the cost information, which is commercially sensitive. So if you've got a margarine that was in the market selling at about $4.85 previously, 500 grams, the supplier cost was around $2.90, but we'll focus on the freight. The freight rate for this was about 58 cents for the 500 grams. This reduced to about 46 cents. That is a reduction in freight rates. Apart from that, supplier cost also reduced. Insurance remained the same, fiscal duty slightly reduced, clearance charges remained the same, and overhead cost remained the same. FCCC allocated markup for this product reduced, and in total you saw an 86 cents reduction in the final retail price. Similarly, for a brand of iodized salt, freight rates previously was about 16 cents for this 500 gram of salt. The freight rate for the same salt has reduced to 9 cents. Supplier cost for this has remained the same. Unfortunately, there has been other costs that has gone up. As such, the reduction in price has been about 7 cents. So the reduction in price of 7 cents directly reflects a reduction in freight cost from 16 cents to 9 cents. Apart from that, we have got a few other products. Just to give some context, there's a brand of canola oil. Freight rates have reduced by 8 cents. Supplier cost has reduced, as well as insurance cost has reduced. This product used to go for, and this was 750 ml, this used to go for $4.38. Now the same product is going for $3.36, which is a 98 cents reduction. A brand of tin mackerel in tomato sauce, 155 grams. freight rate here remained relatively stable. It reduced by 1 cent only. But because supplier cost went up by 5 cents for this product. However, the duty for this was reduced. This is a recent product, and the price for this has reduced from 96 cents to 88 cents. So it's not all doom and gloom. There are products where prices are reducing. Now, initially I had mentioned there are other factors that affect product prices. One example is a blend of tea leaves, 200 grams. The freight rate has remained constant. It used to be 10 cents, it still is 10 cents. The supplier cost has reduced by 7 cents, which is reflected in the final retail price. So this product has reduced from $2.57 to $2.50. Now all this information, apart from the ones that I've discussed, I can go on in detail. There's more than 200 or so items that we can discuss. But I think the gist of it is, when you look at freight cost internationally, you look at the movement, which is for 40-foot container, there's been close to a 9,000 reduction, Fijian dollar reduction in freight cost. But in a container, you have quite a lot of products coming in. So when you apply it on a per unit basis, you could have thousands of items. When you divide the total cost into these thousands of items, the per unit impact can be 5 cents, 6 cents, 7 cents. Now, when an average consumer goes to the shelf and they see that the price of something that used to be 257 is now 250, generally when we explain this to consumers, they say the price is still 250. It's still in that category. So the impact for freight rate reduction is being felt. We've got empirical data. We've got more than 200 items where freight rate has caused a reduction in price. But the reduction in a real dollar terms is on a per cents basis. And so people may not generally notice it. Now, if it was, say, new cars or used cars where the dollar value of the item is higher, when you multiply the percentages, because in one container you might get one car, right? So the total value of that, of the freight reduction, is reflected in one product as opposed to thousands of products for fast moving consumer goods. So freight rates have been coming down. We have seen, I think there's been quite a lot of comments around the reduction in freight rates. It has been happening, we just have not publicized it. All of this information has always been available on the FCCC website through our master price list that's available for public consumption. We have responded to any queries or complaints that consumers would have. We also are taking a very collaborative approach with businesses to try and work around and see how we can look at the change in VAT, especially the product markings. For some stores that we visited, some supermarkets, not just supermarkets, we visited some other white goods stores and some retail chains. Each of these major retailers, they carry close to 30-40 different thousand line items. So changing the stickers overnight in 5-6 hours may not be humanly possible for some of them. And we also have to think that the staff members that work for these companies, they are the ones that will have to make these changes. As such, FCCC, along with the task force, we've given these companies 2 weeks to rectify the changes. Now, any consumer that enters a store that is unsure of the price, unsure of the VAT changes, these businesses will make available ground staff. You can ask any staff member, they'll be able to scan and let you know. In that time period, FCCC, along with Consumer Council and the Fiji Revenue and Customs Services, we are undertaking joint inspections to ensure that the system prices are all correct and that the companies are moving quite swiftly in amending the shelf prices. Apart from that, as far as our enforcement is concerned, FCCC has always been big on enforcement. We are continuously dedicated and committed to consumer protection. As such, you will note we have over 500 matters in court. Some of those matters, they take some time to get back. Most recently, we've had about 4 matters that have come back with hefty fines. One particular trader was fined about $250,000 in order to pay $10,600 in compensation. This was a motor vehicle company. There was a rental company that was fined a sum of $1,000. $1,500 was given as a compensation to consumers. The other two, for price display and marking, 2 companies, large retailers, have been charged $15,000 each. We are undertaking litigation and enforcement in tandem. Unfortunately, allow me to explain how the process works. FCCC is a enforcement agency, meaning we have to comply with the requirements of the law. The Constitution on rights of accused is quite clear. We deem everybody to be innocent until the courts have been able to prove otherwise. As such, the burden of proof lies with the prosecution. We have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the particular offense that took place was done, and we have to collect enough evidence to show in court that what led to this particular conduct, and that the conduct itself was illegal. Which means we have to incorporate the process of natural justice. So once we receive a complaint, we will have to inform the particular business, we'll have to get enough information, gather information, analyze it, and then if we have enough evidence, then we take the matter to court. So prima facie, while some things may come to you and they'll say, look, the price has increased, right? We're not saying that prices may not increase. Price changes are a function of the market. It's not incumbent on any sitting government. Wasn't with the last one, isn't with this current one, right? And won't be with the next one. Prices are a function of market, is a function of demand and supply in the market. So prices constantly and continuously change. And there are a whole host of factors that affect this price change. Taxes is one of them. Freight cost is one of them. And if all of these factors, they don't move all in one direction. Sometimes the freight cost will go down, but the supplier cost will go up. So the final prices that you see on the shelf, it is not necessary that the act itself was unethical or illegal. It is not necessary that the business would have done this to increase prices because they want to increase, they want to take advantage of the increase in taxes. The FCCC is legally obligated and mandated to isolate whether this is under section 53A is related to the change in taxes and duties. If it is not, we cannot proceed with prosecution. So we have to isolate, and sometimes supplier costs increase. It is a function of the market. So I think that is one thing that that needs to be clarified. The other thing, the FCCC is the consumer and competition regulator as well as the price regulator. Now, being the price regulator does not mean it's our job to keep prices low. Our job is not to ensure that prices are artificially kept low. Our job is to ensure that prices that are in the market are reflective of one, true cost. There's no exorbitant markup on it, meaning businesses are not making a killing and profiteering of it, and they're not exploiting vulnerable consumers. If the increase is warranted, we'll pass those increases. If the increase is not warranted, we'll decline those increases. There's been numerous instances where FCCC has gone to the business and said, we're not going to allow this. Right? The taxi industry is a good example. They failed to provide submissions, we said no. If somebody is able to provide information, we'll process it. If the submission has got its merit, if the costs are relevant and the costs have been duly incurred in providing those services, then those costs are then passed through. So the job or the role of the FCCC is to ensure that the prices in the market are fair in nature, that it's not artificially driven and it's done by market forces and not externally driven, or somebody just wants to profiteer so they jack up the price. Now in those instances, we are undertaking a lot of enforcement exercises. In fact, I would like to thank the staff and the team at FCCC. For the last 6 weeks, we've worked continuously 7 days a week in trying to collect and collate prices. And when I say we, it's not just the enforcement team. Everybody from the CEO to the driver messenger, everybody was out collecting and collating these prices. Simply because we want to ensure that the Fijian people are not taken advantage of, vulnerabilities are not exploited, and businesses engage in fair trade practices.